Welcome to Mamamia Out Loud. It's what women are actually talking about on Friday, the 15th of August. My name is Holly Wainwright.
I'm Jessie Stevens.
And I'm Vernem.
And here's what's on our agenda for today.
Is maternal instinct really a lie? I have a feeling that Holly and I passionately disagree about this.
Quite possibly. Mankeeping, heterofatalism and hermeneutic labour. Did I say that right?
I think you did.
There's a whole lot of fancy new words to describe the same thing, the realities of dating men. Emily Vernem is going to translate.
And we have some recommendations for your weekend, including a mysterious new hobby, a hack in learning a new skill, and turning a basic bitch vegetable into a delicious dish. But first, a few nights ago, I was scrolling on TikTok, like the 4 hours I set aside every night for my TikTok scroll, and I came across this creator named Brandon, and he spoke to my soul. He was walking alongside this river and he was talking into the camera about how he's an outsidey person, not an outdoorsy person.
Okay.
And I immediately clicked into another video of his where he explained what he meant by that. This is what he said.
I always tell people I'm outsidey and not outdoorsy. Now, what do I mean by this? Okay, so right now I'm in the babbling brook, okay? Notice, see, I just have my feet in here. That's it. I'm not going to go all the way out there. That's outdoorsy. I'm outsidey, okay? So I'm just going to, stroll. I like to peruse. I like to gander, okay? Now, would I swim in the babbling brook? Absolutely not. No, that's outside.
Outdoorsy.
Now, will I have a little nice table out there with some chairs and have a nice charcuterie board? Absolutely. Outsidey, okay? Hiking? No. Charcuterie? Yes.
I love this so much. I have some questions.
Mm-hmm.
Camping. Outsidey or outdoorsy?
Outdoorsy.
Definitely outdoorsy.
But glamping? Outsidey.
Okay, because I think I'm outsidey, and the reason for this is that I went on a 3-day hike to Bruny Island. Remember that, right?
Yes, I've been on a similar one.
Yes, because we're hikers and we're very outdoorsy. That's what it looks like. But the beauty of this hike was that it was an outsidey hike.
It was.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so you go and have a shower, and when you're in the shower, it's like got this mat. It's open, and you look out onto the wilderness. But the shower's warm. You got your shampoo and conditioner, and you got a glass of champagne on the windowsill. That is outside.
That's outsidey.
I did the same thing. So you walk, so you do the outdoorsy bit, but you stay every night in a beautiful lodge.
And there's wine.
That's the outsidey bit, and there's wine. Yeah.
So I think I know what my line is.
Okay.
I am outsidey because I need a coffee, preferably barista made. And I think that the problem with going and camping, like my friend recently went to Canada, camped the whole time.
Wow.
Way too close to the bears. Needs bear spray and stuff. I was like, I'm happy to see the bear from my cabin.
From my hotel room.
I don't need to hear the bear clawing at the thing. And where do you get your barista coffee? Yeah. What are you, Em? Outsidey or outdoorsy?
I'm definitely outsidey, borderline insidey.
I was going to say, are you even outsidey?
Barely
well,
outsidey.
You do go for a walk every day.
I do my outside walk, but the way I know if someone's outsidey versus outdoorsy is how they approach holidaying. Like, what are your activities you plan for your holiday? Are you a hotel family or are you a hiking family? My biggest fear is marrying into a family that like to go to walks on their holidays for no reason besides to see the
And they
sights.
have like, I think a sign you're outdoorsy is that you own hiking boots.
Yes.
Like you actually own them. Aren't you married to an outdoorsy, Holly?
Massively.
Married.
Not married.
You're with an
Married,
outdoorsy.
in inverted commas, to a very outdoorsy person. And I am outsidey. In fact, I'm very outsidey. I like to be outside as
I
much
think
as
you're
possible.
borderline outdoorsy.
Because you touch the outdoors with your gardening.
I
And
do.
you kneel on
and
that
if I
mat of
can't
yours.
go outside, like if the weather's really, really terrible, I actually get quite sad. Like I like to be in nature, as they say. But I am not outdoorsy like Brent is. Like I can camp. I do it once a year with my friends. I've written a book about that. But I'm not encouraging it. You know what I mean? I can go for a walk. Years ago before kids, Brent and I went and did the Larapinta Trail and it was amazing.
Oh, that's outdoorsy.
And I loved it. But have I done anything like that since? No. Do I encourage it? No.
Another sign you're outdoorsy. Holly, you can answer this question, and this is the ultimate question. Do you swim in the ocean in winter?
Oh,
I reckon that's it, because I'll swim in the ocean on a nice day. If it's a little cold, there's no way I'm
Absolutely
diving
not.
in.
I don't go in proper winter, but I do love to swim in the ocean. And I like to swim in rivers. I like to swim.
Rivers, no.
I like
Rivers
to
and
swim.
lakes, no.
I like to swim anywhere that isn't in a swimming pool, basically. And so I do really like that. But if it's freezing, I'm not going in. I'm not crazy. But
Okay.
I reckon I'm outsidey with outdoorsy rising.
Yes.
But I'm definitely not proper outdoorsy. When Brent and I talk about, when we no longer have responsibilities and we do whatever, he's like, I'm going to go on that 28-day hike in Western Australia. And I'm like,
And he gets like joy out of that.
yeah, and
not
I'm
like
like, and
punishment.
I will come and meet you every now and again at somewhere with a really nice cocktail bar.
A Substack newsletter dropped in my inbox this week with the subject line, "The maternal instinct is a lie." And immediately I found that I got my back up, which was a surprising response, and I want to work through why with you both. The author of this newsletter, her name is Sarah Peterson, interviews Chelsea Connerboy, who has written a book called Mother Brain. And here's what she says. This idea that women's capacity for caregiving is wholly innate, automatic, and is particular to women is a myth. She says maternal instinct paves the way for the belief that women are meant to birth children, that they're equipped with everything they need without needing any additional time or support. The myth of the maternal instinct is also, she says, behind the complete lack of clinical care during the postpartum period. She believes in the parental brain, something that develops with experience, which anyone can have access to. And when I read that nuanced argument, I went, yeah, I think I believe in the parental brain too. I quite like that. It's also used, she argues, to justify women staying at home and men going back to work, because women have the maternal instinct, right?
Because as we've mentioned several times on the show lately, suddenly this seems to be a big issue of debate.
Exactly right.
Whether or not women should be allowed to have jobs.
Holly, did you find yourself agreeing with Connerboy's argument?
Look, I think, yes, but I think it's a very dangerous discussion, because arguing against maternal instinct can also be seen as devaluing mothers' work, right? And motherhood in general. And I would never want to do that, because I think parents in general could do with a lot more recognition and support. And so I don't want to do that. And I can see that this headline is a trap to get women to walk into and then fight with each other about it. But having said all that, from my personal experience, if I'm telling the absolute unvarnished truth of whether or not I thought I had maternal instincts, no, I don't think I did.
How did you feel you learned it?
I genuinely believe, again for me, only for me, that when I left the hospital with our first child, in that moment I had no more idea than my partner Brent did about how to keep that baby alive. And I believe that because, at least in the first instance, that baby was dependent on my body to stay alive, I had to learn fast and I had to learn first, right? So you're the one who's first in the line to figure this shit out as much as you can, and then you pass it along, right? But to be honest, I don't know that I did ever learn it. Like, I genuinely think, and this is why, I feel very vulnerable admitting this, because it's probably one of the worst things a mother can admit. Like, nothing was easy or instinctive about it. Like, the only thing that was easy and instinctive about becoming a mother for me, and in this I'm very lucky, was the love. Right, that was definitely there. So the other thing, if a woman ever admits to how difficult she has found motherhood, she has to put a massive caveat, as I'm doing right now, which is that I adore my children and they are, the joy of my life. And if anything, the fact that I wasn't very maternal before I had them has meant that is even more of a surprise and a delight and a source of joy and pride for me, no question. But I never feel more insecure than I do when I'm in a room of confident mothers. Like, I just was never a confident mother. I never knew, and I still don't. Like, I was always, and again, this is a very common experience, I'm at the doctor when they were little. I'm at the doctor when I shouldn't be at the doctor. I'm not at the doctor when I should be at the doctor.
I know that feeling, yeah.
I'm not advocating for them in situations when they really might have needed my advocation. But then on the other hand, I worried and stressed way too much about things that didn't matter. Like I felt like I was always getting it wrong, and I would be often around groups of women, and even now with teenagers, they bring me their issues, and all people have issues. I'm not crossing any boundaries there. And most of the time my instinct is I have no fucking idea.
But yeah,
And when I'm around women who seem to be very confident mothers and just seem to I'm not going to say that it's easy for them, because I don't believe that it's easy for anybody, but like that they do seem to just know like what to do, what to feed them, how to be, how to care.
And do you think that's an instinct?
Well, I think that maybe can't we accept, and I know this is always my position and I'm very boring in this regard, that there's a spectrum that involves nature, nurture, science, environment, that some of us have much stronger maternal instincts than others. And some women do and some women don't. And like, I think that, as I say, like I love being a mother. I absolutely love it. But I'm not a naturally maternal person. No one ever makes me office mother, right? Like I think that deeply people understand that if they were going to cast me in the role of office mum, den mother, friend group mother, they would get eaten by a bear. Like I think they deeply know that. Whereas we all know some women, don't we, who are just, they ooze it.
Yeah.
And so I think, of course, there is a maternal instinct, but I don't think that every woman has it to the same amount. And I do think that parental instincts and parental brain can be learnt and can be learnt by anybody.
I have 100 thoughts on that. But first, what do you think, Em?
When I read this, I felt betrayed, because I was always thought, similar to your point, Holly, I felt like even all my friends who don't have kids, I just knew who out of us would be really, really good mothers and who out of us I'd be like, I'm not too sure. And I was in the I'm not too sure camp, because just when there's like a baby in our group, the way my friends react to that baby is so different to the way I react. And I've always been told that if I were to have kids, when I have a kid, that will immediately change. Like you'll immediately get it. You'll immediately know exactly what to do. You'll get that mother instinct.
You don't have to love all babies, but you'll love your baby.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Yeah. I'm chill now. And then I read this and I was like, wait a minute. What if that doesn't happen to me? And then it kind of scares me to the point of like, are we telling women that just as long as you have a child, like you'll actually get it and it'll be fine after that? Because that's what I've been told.
So this is my theory, is that we're potentially confusing two things. On the one hand, there's maternal instinct, and on the other hand, there is this picture symbol of the ideal mother, right?
No question.
And I think we're sort of conflating the two. So I think it's a lot about the definition of what the maternal instinct is, because what you just described, Holly, I thought was the maternal instinct. So the sense you're always doing it wrong, that's a maternal instinct.
No, I don't think it is.
I see. Yeah, that's interesting, right? Is that I feel as though, I
think it's a common maternal experience.
Yes, anxiety.
But I think the idea that you'll know best, you always really know your child. No one knows them better than you do. You'll know when it's serious. You'll know what the cries mean. You'll know
No.
That's all the stuff that is sold to us as the maternal instinct.
So I looked it up, and it said maternal instinct, it refers to the natural and inherent tendency of a mother to nurture and care for her child, right? And what a lot of mothers talk, because you spoke about knowing you loved the baby, and for a lot of people I know, that wasn't the first feeling.
Exactly. That's
very common, right?
Particular experience.
Was the first feeling was terror. And and they say, I felt protective. I knew if someone walked into that room, I'd say, I'm looking after this baby. But was it love? Not really, right? So there is this incredible spectrum. And I think the issue is that we keep trying to make motherhood universal, and the experience of motherhood is not universal. It is so specific. But I remember walking through the door with Luna in her capsule and putting her on the floor, and Chili the dog started kind of wandering towards her, and I have never in my life had that feeling. I can't even explain it. It was like I saw flashes of what was going to happen. It was protective, but it was more than that. It was enormous anxiety. It was all of those things. And I worry that there is something very specific that happens when you carry a baby and you have that baby, right? There is something specific. We know that there are hormonal, biological, neurological changes, and that's matrescence, and there's an incredible emerging field. Does that mean that if you don't do those things, then you don't have a parental instinct? Absolutely not.
Because to be like, I don't want to ever make it sound like I'm devaluing motherhood, because it's the last thing I'd want to do. But feeling protective over my new baby, Brent was also protective over that baby.
And that's the thing, is that we talk about maternal instinct. I think because we're using it to kind of prop up this ideal mother thing, which is an absolute lie that has been used as a weapon against women to be this ever giving, ever nurturing.
Like you have to do everything because you have the mother instinct.
And also
Yes.
self-sacrificing.
Yes,
How many
self-sacrificing.
times do you hear people, famous people being interviewed and they're like, my mother gave up everything so
for
that
me.
I could have my dream.
And that's
That
the
is
ideal mother.
ideal.
Whereas
They never say that about fathers, by the way.
paternal instinct, which is equally a thing, is, I would say, exactly the same. I think it can manifest slightly differently, but there is all this research too about, in the case of adoption or the case of grandparents, like the carrying of a baby close to your body releases these hormones that make you super, super protective. And my worry with undermining the whole idea of a maternal instinct is that mothers are more anxious today than they've ever been in all of history. And is that because they've been undermined? Is there a way in which all the expertise and the intellectualism and the books and the podcasts and the blah, and you need to have a PhD in all of the things, and have you learnt to breastfeed yet, and makes women feel like they are so fundamentally incapable of doing any of this, that it's got to be that they need all the advice all the time from the experts? And there is some truth. I mean, I had to learn manually how to breastfeed. Like there was nothing instinctive about that, and I was never good at it, and I had to stop. But I think that there are some parts of, like, reacting to a baby's cry or whatever it is, that maybe mothers and fathers need to trust themselves a little bit more, and that might actually help with the anxiety, and to kind of sit there and go, and I was reassured by some health professionals, it's like, you've got to kind of trust that you know what you're doing. Something has happened to you in your brain. The circuits have all changed that have programmed you to try and look after this thing. And the guilt, what's helped me is to go, the guilt and the anxiety and all of those things, the second all of them kick in, and for me, they've been in the realm of normal. I know for some people they aren't. It's like, oh, this is helping me. This is helping me. That image I had of this horrible thing just happening to Luna, I'm going to file that away as my brain doing its job.
I think also what maternal instinct refers to is it doesn't also consider like women who choose to adopt. But what this interview did was that it shows that there is scientific evidence that people who are around a baby in those initial phases, there is a change in their brain chemistry, but there hasn't been enough research into it to actually explain what that change is and how it like manifests. So I want to know, with both of your partners, do you know when they had that like change?
I think it was gradual, as I think it was. And maybe that's our issue too, is that maternal instinct is billed as this thing that is imbued upon you the second you have a baby. Like, I don't think that's right.
I genuinely think, and one of the examples is like, so for my second child, obviously I was more confident. I still wouldn't have described myself as a confident mother. But the literal reason why is because I'd learned it. I'd done it before.
Yeah.
So, and that's the same for my partner. So and again, I don't want to talk in generalizations about specific experiences, but Brent was also a father, like he adored the baby, and you have to, this is a team effort. And I've talked about that lots of times. Like you've got to trust them to know what they're doing and learn what they're doing, because all the things you're learning, and you've never been on such a steep learning curve as you are in those early days of parenthood, they also have to learn. But if you don't let them learn, they won't learn. And you will be the keeper of all that knowledge, in the same. So I do think that anyone can learn it. I agree with you, Jessie, about almost everything you say about the fact that I think we've undermined instinct to a point in terms of the constant, and it's capitalism, let's face it. They want you to buy the books and buy the things and buy all the products that are supposed to make things easier and all of those things.
It's also access to information. It's too much.
And so I do agree with all of that making you anxious. But for me, I don't think it was necessarily that, because I just think that I just genuinely believe that we've created an ideal that can undermine mothers a lot, which is that you'll know what to do. It will be natural. A good mother does this, that are so deep in us that it's really hard to unpick it. And I think that maybe some women do. And I genuinely believe that. Like, I think there's probably – so the point of this article was sort of saying that the motherhood myth, the maternal instinct myth, as she calls it, is like a trap to keep you at home and keep the status quo in place and allow men to not have anything to do with child rearing and all those things. I think that there's a lot of truth in that. And I think there's an enormous amount of truth that for many, many women, it's the most satisfying and important thing they'll ever do, and that they'll get so much self-esteem out of being able to do it well, right? So I think two things can be true. And I think there's no question that the culture has given us an impossible ideal to live up to. And I think it's probably harder to live up to for some women than others. That's what I genuinely think.
When we talk about the maternal instinct, sometimes I think when I am around kids, I always grapple with, is this like a maternal instinct or just an instinct because I'm an adult and they're a kid? Like, for example, if I'm at a bar or at a pub and there's like a little kid, there shouldn't be a kid at a bar, but if I'm at a pub
I don't know,
and there's like a little tiny kid running around, I'm just staring at that kid because I'm always like, oh my God, it's going to bump its head on our table. It's going to run over there. Even when Luna came into the office, you just can't help yourself from watching kids and seeing what they're doing and making sure they're not hurting yourself. And it just comes so naturally. And I feel like that's with everyone, regardless they're a parent or not.
Or their gender.
Or their gender. Even knowing who that kid is.
Yeah.
It just comes.
And, I wonder if the maternal instinct has kind of been used to undermine the village too. Like that it's sort of going, well, the mother will do it best because she has, because it's also innate to her. Whereas, Luna is in the care of lots of different people and some of them have had kids before, a lot of them haven't. And that instinct, whatever you want to call it, you've got to trust that will come in all the different caregivers because they build a relationship. They build a relationship with them.
Yeah.
So moving on from women to men and the women who date them. Maybe this week you've seen a lot of mankeeping talk around. We discussed this on the pod a while ago, last year, I think. Mankeeping describes the caretaking role that women often play for the men in their lives. We're doing a lot of generalising today, by the way.
Yeah.
A great deal of generalising. Looking after their emotional needs, bolstering their confidence, supporting their well-being. It's not just necessarily about doing more around the house, but that basically you're the one who will remind them to go to the doctors, tell them to call their mother on her birthday, all of that kind of stuff.
I love my dad, but I think I mankeep my dad. I think that he's someone I have to look after.
There was an article in The Guardian recently called Are Heterosexuals Okay? It was by Emma Beddington, and it rounded up a whole lot of other examples of terms like mankeeping that mean the same thing, which is basically the argument seems to be dating men is dreary and problematic. For example, we now have a fancy word, heteropessimism, to describe the outlook of straight women fed up with the mating behaviour of men. Emily Vernem, dating correspondent, do you relate?
I think I related more to this in my early 20s when I first started dating. And I think a lot of women, when they first start dating, whether they're new to dating or they've come after a breakup and they're in the new world of dating, it is quite a sudden experience to see how many people are so different to you and your friends that are out there that are now in the dating pool. And it's something that I feel like now I've just gotten so used to that it's not even a thing for me anymore. You just have to be okay with knowing that some people you will date are just going to be quite shit.
So do you relate with the sense of heteropessimism or heterofatalism of just sometimes looking at being a heterosexual woman and going, I don't know how much longer I can do this? Because that was the sense. There was a great New York Times piece about it. And that's what the author essentially said, is that her friends look at each other and go, I'm off it.
Yeah. It's every single situationship breakup, which a lot of women go through. I feel like I go through that all over again, and then I delete the apps and I come back 6 months later. Only recently, I want to read you out some text that I got from a man.
Oh, please.
I was seeing this guy, I think we went on about 4 or 5 dates. I have a feeling I talked about him on the podcast. I've talked about so many men on the podcast. And we were talking and he wanted to date and I was like, yeah. And he's like, should we be exclusive? And I was like, yeah, if you want. I'm still on the apps. I know you're still on the apps because your profile's still there. And he's like, yeah. And then 2 days after that, I just messaged him and I was like, are you free on the weekend? And he said, a day later, which was the Saturday, he said, I'm at work all weekend. I finish at 6 tomorrow, but we've got lots of bookings in because he's a bartender. So it could be later. Sorry, I'll keep you in the loop. Never heard from him again. This was like beginning of July.
Okay, so this is in this New York Times article that it told a story. And this woman was talking about one of her friends, and she'd gone on a third date with a lawyer, and her friend said to her, he's really, really sweet and nice to me and good at sex. No doubt something humiliating and nightmarish will occur soon, which I just really related with. Anyway, and then he was really busy with his work. Men are they're so busy with their work,
so
unlike
busy.
women. She ended up saying she would message him and he would just go days and days, and she kind of ended up saying, hey, is everything all right? Like, you know, you're taking 6 days to respond. It would just take you 90 seconds. And eventually he said, sorry for keeping you waiting. He hadn't meant to. But he said the complaint had got him thinking. He unfortunately wasn't able to escalate whatever was happening between them into a relationship. And this friend clarified that she had not been asking to escalate anything, merely expressing a need for clarity about plans. He understood that, he said, but their communication skills were obviously too different for them to continue dating. The reason I pulled this out
Oh my God.
is because I've had this happen about 7 times. It was like clockwork. Like
It
I
feels
knew
like
the
you
plot.
just read out my diary.
Yeah, of I would date people, and then 4 months, not 2 days, 4 months down the track, and then I would go, all right, either they're acting weird or trying to make a plan or something, and I would ask for clarity on the plan, and then it would go, I think we want different things. And I was like, I just want to know if we're hanging out on Saturday. And then they'd be like, you clearly want a relationship. And I was like, I do, but I didn't say that.
Friends, today is an appropriate day to bring this up. Sex and the City, R.I.P. He's just not that into you. Like, come on.
Yes, but why can't
That's
they?
the end of that.
But then
Why
why
can't
are
they
they
say
doing all of this
that?
whole?
You just read, like, if they're not texting you back, if he's texting you back saying we've got a lot of bookings in tonight, not sure, maybe, like, he's not that into you. That's the end of that conversation. Like, if he really liked you, it wouldn't matter if he was working till midnight. He would try and get round there as soon as he'd finished, or he'd be getting someone else to finish his shift for him.
So the issue is that what's wrong with them that they don't like us?
Yeah. So here's the thing about this whole scenario is that
I'm going to start crying.
Is it true that men have got this kind of premise is like men have gotten worse because as women have been able to ask for more of what they want because they've got more independence, they've got more choices, they've got more, as we discuss all the time. The dialogue is kind of they don't have to put up with this shitty behavior anymore. Like that's generally the vibe, right? Like,
yeah.
And so if I threw away the Sex and the City line, but say like when that show started in the late 90s and noughties, it was like women tying themselves in knots to believe something that wasn't true about this guy seemed more urgent than it does now.
Isn't it interesting though that show had not a sprinkle of heteropessimism? It was full of hetero hope. Like it was about that they still believed in like finding the person, whereas now there's this real nihilism when it comes to
some
dating.
of the characters did. Charlotte, definitely hetero-optimism, always. Little bit of that with Carrie, but like I don't think Miranda had a lot of hetero-optimism. I don't think Samantha had a lot of hetero. Like anyway, we're not talking about Sex and the City, but the idea that like it seems interesting that we've changed the vocabulary, but the stories and also the world has changed because, you do have all the choices in the world, right? You are a catch. I'm here to tell you.
Oh, good. Emma's going to stop crying.
No
That's nice.
question, right? And yet you're still trying to decipher what this stupid fucking text message means.
Yes. But what I think you're saying, so even Sex and the City, like they started the taxi cab theory, right?
Yes, which is, there is nothing truer in life. I would bet my house on that theory.
I agree. I think that theory is so true.
Explain
So
it.
the
Can you-
taxi
yeah.
cab theory, it's the idea that men will go dating until they're ready to settle down. And depending on who they're just dating at the time they're ready to settle down, that's the person
Musical
they'll
chairs.
But women,
end up with.
women have a light too. It's exactly, your lights just have to be on at the same time.
I think women are more, and I think this is where the taxi cab theory is making men really confused now, because women, as you said, Hol, have more agency over their lives and dating, and they're becoming more picky with dating in a good way, saying that they're going to look for the right person. So their light only turns on the person that they feel like they're going to spend the rest of their life with. Yeah. They can still, like, for example, I date men who I'm like, I'm definitely not going to marry you, but you're fun right now, so I'm going to keep dating you. If his taxi cab light turns on while he's dating me, I'm backing out. Like, that's not me.
Of course.
And now these men, all we have on these apps are these men who are really confused, going, my light's on, but no one wants to date me. And they aren't able to figure out why no one wants to date them. They just think all they have to do is turn their lights on and there'll be a woman there waiting for them.
The guy who can't tell you that he doesn't want to go on another date with you and has to make up some bullshit excuse about how many bookings he's got in his bar, his light's not on.
His light's not on.
His isn't. And I think that my theory is that there is this gap between our desire and our politics, right? And that we would have this desire. I felt like I couldn't be honest with myself for 10 years about what I wanted, because maybe it made me feel less independent or less. I didn't like the desperation I felt sometimes, and I didn't like how some men made me feel. They made me feel desperate. And I just went, I don't like this. I feel in control in so many avenues of my life.
And you were asking for the tiniest thing, like confirmation about Saturday night plans. And they were like, whoa, I don't want to get married.
Yeah, like, this girl is crazy.
And I was like, how dare you make me feel like that? And there was this term in the New York Times article I loved, which was, I'm not going to be able to pronounce it, normative male alexithymia, which is the condition of being unable to put words to emotions. And it's about relationship, kind of women are like the relationship maintenance experts, even in relationships. They're the ones who have to bring up the issue. Again, enormous generalization, but bring up the thing, ask men to talk about it, and then it gives way to what they call a female demand, male withdraw pattern, which is exactly what happened, which was I would demand, even in dating, the tiniest thing. Man, withdraw.
I just have to throw a little spanner in the works in defense of men. And you know it's unusual for me to be cast in the defense of men.
That's my role.
I know, right? When the desire is mismatched in a dating situation, like he likes you more than you like him, or you like him more than he likes you, neither of us are good at communicating that. Emily, you might be, because you're very good. You're quite good at being straightforward. But I know that in my dating life, if a guy was asking me if I wanted to go out on Saturday night and I didn't, was I emotionally super mature and say like, hey, I think I appreciate you asking me and blah, 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 blah. But no, I don't think we've got a future together. Of course I didn't. That was too awkward. I would have said exactly the same thing. We've got too many bookings on Saturday night. No. I'll call you sometime next week. I think that women are confrontational avoidant too. But the thing is that we tell ourselves a different story because we're always casting ourselves in the person who's wanting a thing. And that men have got the thing we want. So we feel like in our dating stories, it's always them saying no and we're saying, but I want, and they're saying no. When actually think, like, if you're really honest with yourself, don't you think there have been lots of times where you haven't treated a person in your dating life with the absolute respect they deserve?
Oh, absolutely not. But I do
millions of examples of that.
There is something, and this is not just in dating, this is in relationships, this is in couples that have been together for 40 years. I think this idea that some men struggle to articulate emotions is true. And I can't work out whether that is something innate or whether that is something, there's definitely a socialization element to it, where I think that men get into some situations and go, I don't even know what to label this feeling. And for women who are very used to articulating how they feel and talking to their big group of females, and it's something that's been rewarded and encouraged in them since they were very little. Like, I think that there is a bit of a mismatch. I'm not sure if it's greater than it's ever been.
I think it's massive now because men don't talk to their friends about things. And it's so evident when you go on that first date with a guy because exactly. I think I even talked about this on the podcast where I was asking this guy question after question after question. And he was like, what else do you have to ask me, instead of asking me a question about myself? Yeah. And I think it's because it's usually the first time.
Maybe he's just a dick.
He's just a dick. But it's also usually the first time where they've actually talked about themselves and had someone interested in their life. One time I went on a date with a guy and he literally said to me, no one's ever asked me that before. The question was, what does your sister do for work?
So true.
And I genuinely believe no one's actually asked him that before.
So weird. I want you to tell me though, Em, back to this, because so many examples in these stories are about a woman thinking that a relationship is more than it is, and then a man not being straightforward in his acknowledgement that his light isn't on or that they're not matched or whatever. What is the emotionally mature way to handle this? What should the guy have said, and what do you say to a guy who's saying, want to go out again on Thursday? And you're like, no.
I think what I do now, and you're right, it's definitely something I didn't do when I first started dating, because I'd always be like, oh, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't want to be part of this. But what I do now is that after a date, I will message them and be like, hey, really enjoyed getting to know you. I feel like we're not compatible. Good luck.
That's very mature.
Instead of like making them go like waiting a few days, knowing, because I know that I would do it, and I know that if they like me a lot and I don't like them, I know they'll spend the next few days going, should I message? Should I not? What should I say? And then they'll message and be like, hey, do you want to hang out this weekend? And then I'll take 2 days to reply. And then they'll be like, hey, just checking in. I'll be like, oh, sorry, work's been really, really busy. Like, it's so shit. It's so shit to do to someone. And I think with online dating now is that it's given you the excuse where you can have those really hard conversations without it just being full on. You have the excuse of it being like so much more casual and so much more chill. I know a lot of women don't like doing it in person because of like, you can feel unsafe at some times. And I think just like message them like straight after or a day after and be like, I've been thinking about it. I don't want to see you again. But I'd much prefer that than kind of like making what I think is happening a bigger deal in my head for it to just be crushed with a ghosting.
The confusion.
Yeah. It is Friday and we want to help set up your weekend with our very best recommendations. Holly, what do you have for us?
So you know how Jessie likes to recommend the most obvious things?
Yep.
She tells me I do that, but like she's like, have you watched Drive to Survive? There's this show called Mad Men. Like that's Jessie.
8 years later.
She discovers the thing.
And then the annoying thing is that then everyone watches it. Like now all the Outlouders are watching Drive to Survive because you talked about it 5 years after I did.
Good luck going to the Melbourne Grand Prix in Vernem. Good luck.
No. Damn it. Anyway, I have a new discovery. It's this little known app that teaches you a foreign language. Have you heard about this?
An app can teach you a language?
Duolingo.
I thought we were telling people last week they had too many apps.
We did, but this
what
weekend
a new
I
fresh piece of technology.
I know. Because the reason I'm recommending this is, so yeah, it's true that last week we did talk about how we've got too many apps, and I said I'd had 135, and the Outlouders have all been in the group saying how many they've got. They've got 186. I now have 136 because I downloaded Duolingo.
Okay, are you
having
a midlife crisis?
Definitely.
Are you going to a country to learn?
I am. I came back from my holiday where we went overseas and we went to Italy, and I was like, I am learning Italian. Before I step foot in that country again, I'm freaking learning Italian because I never feel more stupid and dumb and more like a giant middle-aged baby than when I'm standing in a shop behind my mother, who can speak Italian, by the way, or whoever who like is making a real effort to communicate in the language, being respectful of the culture, and I'm there pointing at things and going,
holla.
Bread. How am I as old as I am? And I only speak English. It's embarrassing. There are lots of people in my life who speak lots of languages. And I'm like, well, anyway, I'm time poor. I'm time poor. I've got broccoli to look after.
Yeah.
Apparently I have children to look after too, but as discussed, not very good on the maternal instinct front. And so that Duolingo, you can do 6 minutes a day. And I'm doing 6 minutes a day of Italian. Mate, I'm going to be fluent by the end of the month.
This is like the
I give you 2 months.
In 2 weeks on this show. And I'm going to ask Holly how Duolingo's going. And she's going to say, Duo what? And it's going to be like the time Holly started meditating and then she forgot. This is so
You're
ambitious.
not going to open it where you have to re-download it every time because it just offloads on your phone.
Maybe this is my meditation. As I've been sitting there and I go, right, I've got 6 minutes, and the little stupid bird pops up on my phone and goes, don't forget your Italian lesson. And I'm like, oh, goody. And I go over there and I'm learning
an owl,
something.
firstly.
It's an owl. That's a bird. It's an owl, and it's trying to encourage me to be a better person, and I'm getting on board with the owl.
So say something.
Okay, go on.
I can't say anything
Go on.
yet.
Ciao.
Say buongiorno.
Oh no.
Well, working wonders
So
here.
sorry to all the Italian out louders and all the
You just wanna be them.
multilingual out louders. I tell you, I am going to have learned how to converse like a proper person very soon, thanks to the owl. It's a little known app called Duolingo. You'll find it in the App Store.
Is it free?
It is
Yeah,
free.
the version I'm doing is free.
Okay.
And the way it works, just quickly, is that every day, little lesson, and some of it is like, say this into the phone. Some of it is translate this thing. I think I chose too high a setting. I was a bit more ambitious.
Some of the sentences they make you learn right off the bat are weird though. It's like, I like your hat. I'm like, out of everything I need to learn in this moment, I like your hat's probably not
Also,
the
it
most
thinks
boring.
we're all Americans because it's like a lot of the things it wants you to say is, I'm sorry, I don't understand you, I'm an American. I'm like, I'm sorry, I still don't understand you, and I'm Australian.
Okay, my recommendation. I have two. The first one I thought was a bit of a cop-out, and I will say this is my last vegetable recommendation.
She's trying to bogart my vegetables.
I am.
You're being healthy. It's nice.
The people liked the broccoli recommendation. Have you heard of carrots? 'Cause
Why is
you
it
can
the
roast
most
them.
basic?
Jessie
vegetables?
recommends carrots.
Give me a
carrots.
kale.
They're like
Even a broccolini.
long, orange kind of.
I'm growing carrots, Jessie.
Okay, I'll tell you how to cook
I
them.
don't know when they're ready. That's one of the problems I have. I'm like, how do I know when the carrot is ready anyway?
Okay, well, what you have to do is like you do your olive oil and your salt and your pepper, right? And you put it in the oven really hot.
We're roasting.
And we're roasting. And then halfway through, this is what Nagi does because she makes us all into little chefs, is you put garlic on it. Because if you put garlic on it too early, then you burn the garlic.
Right.
Roasted vegetables are really the secret to everything,
They
aren't they?
are. And so you put it on and then you have them. And we've been having our broccoli and our carrots with our Aldi spanakopita.
Is this the same recipe as the broccoli one?
It is pretty much.
Except the one with the broccoli had lemon and parmesan.
Yeah.
If you remember, Em.
You've basically discovered that vegetables don't have to be boring. I like this for you.
Broccoli, vegetables are actually yum. Okay, but I have another recommendation, which is the best thing I read on the internet this week. You know how you said you do 4 hours of TikTok before bed? I've now gone to 4 hours of Substack. Now, there's a writer named Gurwinder. I'm sure that's not his real name, but writes some of the best stuff on the internet. Like follow him on Substack. But he wrote this article that's been republished everywhere called How Social Media Shortens Your Life. And he says
She says on social media.
About my 4-hour TikTok.
Yeah. Every social media user has experienced the theft of their time. You may log on to quickly check your notifications and before you know it, half an hour has gone by and you're still on the platform, unable to account for where the time went. The phenomenon even has a name, a 30-minute ick factor. And he goes on to explain how the experience of time works and what social media is doing to our sense of past, present and future. And he's written about also how insane it is that you can be on TikTok and flick and it's like, tell me what the last video was you watched or tell me what the last thing was. And like it's
don't know.
just, it is like you are in this temporal place that is so bad for our brains, which we all know to be true, but it was a really interesting analysis of how social media makes you feel and what you can do to make time, to make yourself really feel time and all the like variations in activities and all of that. Em, what's your recommendation?
Okay, I have a confession and I feel like you guys aren't going to like this recommendation.
Oh, no.
I've been on the mystery toy bandwagon.
Oh, like the Labubu's and stuff.
Labubus.
My daughter, can you have a conversation with my daughter
Yes.
about that?
Okay.
She only likes buying things that she doesn't know what they are.
It is, I cannot even explain it. So mystery toys, you might have seen you would have seen Labubus all over the internet. It's basically these stores, they're massive in Asia. They've only just taken off here in Australia, like 8 months later. And there's like this big store, like a toy store where all these little boxes are wrapped up in these mystery boxes where you actually don't know what is inside them. So they have like different series of toys. So you have like Powerpuff Girls toys, you have Stitch toys, you have Labubus. And the thing is like in each series of toys, there's different toys you can get amongst that series. So you can get different versions of Stitch, different versions of Powerpuff Girls.
Jessie,
but you
it
don't
is
know
a
which one you're
consumerist
going to
nightmare.
get. Okay,
What
I'm
do you-
not saying like people collect these.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to collect them.
Okay.
But I was having a particular bad day. I think it was after this text message from that man. And I was like, I just need to feel really good about something. And I walked over to Pop Mart in the CBD. It is packed with people 24/7 and they're now making it 2 levels. I bought one toy from the series. I bought this series called Cry Baby, which is very fitting with my mood. It was like the Monster series. And the thing is, you have to choose a series where you like all of them in them because you don't want to be disappointed by one. So I got mine and then I came into the office and I opened it up and I've never felt so much joy in that week. And when I opened that toy, you feel like a child, like on Christmas Day when you're opening a present that you don't know what it's going to be.
Can I ask a question? What do you then do with it? What do you do with it?
That's a good question.
Nothing.
So the one I got, I have it on my desk and I kind of just look at it and it's really cute. My friend got me one, which was like a Mickey Mouse one that was a key ring that I put on my handbag.
This is exactly what my 15-year-old daughter does.
And then it like fell off my handbag in the city and this man tapped me on the shoulder and I was like, what? Don't tap me on the shoulder. And he was like, you dropped that. And I was like, that's the most embarrassing thing I could have ever dropped. And it just like was this white little fluffy thing that was rolling away from me.
We could talk about this for a year. We genuinely
so
could
fun.
because it's the extension of childhood. It's rampant consumerism. It's gamification. Like it is. And there are lots of those shops within walking distance of our office. That is all we've got time for today, Out Louders. A massive thank you to all of you and to our amazing team who helped us put the show together and to you, Emily Vernem. You guys, read us out.
A big thank you to our team, our group executive producer, Ruth Devine, executive producer, Emmeline Gazilis.
Our senior audio producer is Leah Porges, video producer Josh Green, and our junior content producers Coca and Tessa. Bye.
Bye.